What's going on, YouTube? This is SG1 Sports, and you're watching our SEC football channel.
Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football. I believe we've got Stephen M. Smith from Touchdown Alabama on the line. Stephen, how you doing?
Doing well, Mark, and yourself?
I'm doing just fine. We have been awaiting your arrival, sir.
I haven't gotten that big yet, have I?
Oh, you have long since been that big, Stephen. Absolutely you are. We have folks in the live chat that are mentioning your name.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
It's best not to keep the crowd waiting there.
You are right on time. So certainly you are right on time. So I appreciate you stopping by. We've been talking Auburn football for about 45 minutes. And then I've been talking the national scene and was just asked about a comparison that somebody served up between Joe Burrow and Jake Fromm. So I have gone through my analysis. Now we need to hear from you with Alabama going to the practice field for the final time for the spring game tomorrow. Based on what you've seen out of the Tide and what's come out of camp here just in the last week since the last time we talked, what hits you as being important tomorrow?
Well, the number one thing of importance for Alabama is going to be the quarterback play behind Tua Tagovailoa, head coach Nick Saban, and the Crimson Tide. The A-Day rosters have been released. Of course, I got my copy on yesterday. And for Team Crimson, we're looking at Tua Tagovailoa, and behind him, the freshman Paul Tyson. For Team Crimson, for Team White, it'll be Mac Jones, the redshirt sophomore, and behind him we will have Talia Tagovailoa, younger brother of Tua. So with Tua already being mentioned as the guy, the battle between Mac Jones, Paul Tyson, and Talia Tagovailoa against a host of fans marching and looking on at Bryant-Denny Stadium on tomorrow. That'll be the number one thing, is who truly emerges out of this to be the number two, concrete guy behind Tua. Mac Jones has done some good things throughout spring ball. He's got some things he still needs to work on and fine-tune, but for the most part, played well this spring, along with Talia Tagovailoa and Paul Tyson. So in front of what's expected to be a huge, huge crowd and potentially the most highly anticipated spring game since the 2008 venue that had Saban's first major recruiting class, which included the likes of guys like Julio Jones and Mark Ingram. This spring game tomorrow looks to be very, very significant, very huge. And the number one thing on everybody's mind, behind Tua, who's the number two guy?
We're on the line with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. Join him and the rest of the staff there, touchdownalabama.net. Of course, you've run into Mark Rogers TV, the voice of college football, where we discuss, debate, and analyze the game as well as anyone. I'm going to say better than anyone outside of the Alabama analysis that Stephen provides, of course, there at touchdownalabama.net. We've not talked to running backs much because that's hardly ever a concern, but considering the wealth of talent and quantity that's being lost at the running back position, I know some guys are still there, but seeing Josh Jacobs move on and Damian Harris and so forth, what does the running back distribution look like to you going into August?
Well, right now, if you look at Najee Harris, a junior, former five-star from California, Najee Harris and Brian Robinson, another junior, four-star from here in Tuscaloosa. Both of those two will share the carry. Both of those two, the two more experienced guys. So that's the 1A and 1B punch with Harris and Robinson. Behind those two, Jerome Ford, a redshirt freshman out of Sefner, Florida, came into the 2018 class, a three-star. Here's a guy that Saban wants to see more from as the potential number three guy. He has shown flashes throughout spring, can really, really be a key contributor. It's now for him to keep that positive consistency going, whether it's seeing the hole, pressing the hole better, or picking up a block and blitz protection in the passing game. Just small things that Nick Saban wants to see improved more from Jerome Ford's end, but he's right now number 3. Behind him, Kadarius Townsend, who Alabama has flipped from wide receiver to running back, the 4-star athlete from the 2017 class out of Tanner, Alabama, a guy that's got a lot of playmaking ability. From watching him in spring, he's got a mixture of Josh Jacobs and Kenyon Drake in him, and that's a very exotic. That's a very exotic mixture. You talk about how special those two guys were. So you have Kadarius Townsend. As far as when the summer comes in, between the months of May and June, Alabama expecting 2 more guys on campus, that being the 5-star in Trey Sanders of IMG Academy, and the 4-star in Keelan Robinson from the Maryland area. So you're still waiting on 2 more guys. The main 2 right now, Najee Harris, Brian Robinson, your 1A and 1B, Jerome Ford, the next guy in line, and then coming behind him, you have Kadarius Townsend.
Stephen, nobody can break down an offensive line like you. And when it comes to Alabama offensive lines, I know that this is maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, because it just seems to me, we've had how many discussions over the years? Hundreds of discussions on Alabama football for the last 5 or 6 years. And you just love those guys up front that don't get enough credit, but and I know from watching so much football, they make it all happen. And would like to get your breakdown of an Alabama offensive line where the standard is obviously huge and very high, as one of the elite offensive lines in all of college football almost every year.
Mark, this has the potential, and especially if no one gets hurt, provided everybody stays healthy, this has the potential to be Saban's best group since the 2012-2013 group, because there is so much depth and talent for the offensive line this upcoming season. Just at the center position alone, Alabama's running about 4 to 5 deep at center alone. When you look at Chris Owens, who is back as a redshirt junior, he backed up Ross Pierschbaker in 13 games the season ago at center. Chris Owens is 6'3", 315 pounds, out of Arlington, Texas, came in that 2016 class. So he's the first guy. And then behind him, you look at Emilio Ekiyor, who came in 2018, a guy that's showing a lot of potential right now. Behind Ekiyor, you got Darian Dalcourt, young man out of Georgia, who came in 4-star freshman. Saban really likes that kid. You got Hunter Brandon behind him, who came in that 2017 class. So that's already 4 guys right there that you're rotated at center spot. Tommy Brown also in the mix as well. So there's a lot of depth on this offensive line. Now, Jedrick Wills, the returning right tackle, had a slight ankle injury in the second scrimmage. There was an MRI done. Nothing serious happened, just a sprained ankle. He will miss the 8-day game, but Alabama will have him back in a couple of weeks to end the offseason, going into summer workouts, fall camp, and in the 2019 season. But right now, if I had to pick the 5 right now to start in the 2019 season, I would have Alex Netherwood at left tackle. He's a natural tackle. He's sacrificed by playing guard a season ago, but he's a natural tackle. So Netherwood at left tackle. At left guard, give me Emil Ekiyor at left guard. Really like this kid. Got a strong frame, very nasty physical road grader. I like Ekiyor at left guard. At center, of course, Chris Owens. At right guard, Matt Womack, who was the right tackle in 2017, started all 15 games at right tackle. He was not completely beat out by Jedrick Wills. He lost the job to Wills due to an injury, but Matt Womack is back. I see him at right guard, and at right tackle, Jedrick Wills. And just looking at that group of 5 right there, that is a nasty, dangerous 5 on the field.
Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama doing big work there each and every day, covering Alabama athletics, football, of course, on our minds as we head toward the spring game there in Tuscaloosa. So we are doing a call-in show that requires Alabama and Auburn. We kind of paired up the Iron Bowl for the last couple hours talking Alabama and Auburn football. first with Vernon and now with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. We'll have Stephen back on later this weekend to wrap up what he saw there in Tuscaloosa. Our guy, Lamar Stevens, on the live chat here, Stephen, is poking some fun at that result against Clemson, 44-16, mentioning that Alabama may be suffering from some post-traumatic stress disorder. But I'm going to take the ribbing a certain direction, because there is a valid point in amongst all that, in that what are the players? Are they talking about the game that they suffered against Clemson? Is there any discussion in some of the post-practice interview sessions that you've been part of, or that Nick Saban has talked about what kind of impact that game's had on the team?
There has been an energy around this campus, Mark, this spring, that for this to be a team that lost to the Tigers in January by that score 44-16, you couldn't tell it by the energy that's being shown. Of course, that loss is glaringly still on the mind of this program, which is the reason why Nick Saban decided to blow up the coaching staff for a second time and bring back in more seasoned guys, more tenured guys. Falson Ferry returns back. You bring in a Brian Baker from Mississippi State that's got 30 years of coaching experience, including 11 of those, or 19 of those, in the National Football League to run the defensive line. You bring in a Charles Kelly that's got 20-plus years of experience coaching defensive backs, as well as doing some play calling for defense. So he's here, coaching safeties. You made a number of different changes, but you brought in more older guys, more veteran guys, more coaches that can get this program back to the Alabama factor, which is, once the team finished playing the Tide, you want them to have that thought in their mind of, we do not want to play this particular football team again. So while the energy is high, while the excitement is high, while the focus is very high, this is a team that still has that loss implanted in their mind, and no other player has it more so implanted in his mind than one Tua Tagovailoa that sustained, or that had 2 interceptions in that game, including one return for a touchdown. So the thought of, we got our butts physically and mentally undressed by Dabo Swinney and Clemson, it's still there.
Yeah, quite a devastating turn of events, considering that Alabama, even though they threw the pick 6 right out of the gate with Tua, they rebound. And in looking at the 3 drives that I remember Alabama playing after the pick 6, they were almost picture-perfect execution drives from the offensive line, creating running room, running lanes, the running backs running hard, beating up Clemson's front 7. Tua had a beautiful pocket almost every time. I went back and watched the first quarter, because I thought the turning point in the game was when Alabama got down to the 1-yard line to punch it into, in which should have been a 20-14 lead, but they had to kick the field goal to go up 16-14 at that point. But they had just bludgeoned Clemson's defense on 3 consecutive drives. The wide receivers had separation. They just looked like they were precisioned to a T, and then things turned after that. And again, like I say, I watched the first quarter a couple times because I just wanted to see, did I actually watch Alabama dominate this first quarter? And they were en route to 1,000 yards of total offense at that point, and then it just turned on a dime. Stephen, we've got a couple players being mentioned here in the live chat, courtesy our guy, Jan716. He's asking about DJ Dale and also about Trevon Diggs.
Well, I'll answer the DJ Dale one first. That young man is a freak show. At 6'3", 314 pounds, out of Clay Chalkville High School in Pinson, Alabama. He has come in and he has tore it up this spring, to where he has been taking reps with the first team at nose guard. Saban very impressed with this young man. Coach Baker is impressed. The teammates around him are impressed. I got a chance to speak with Raekwon Davis a couple of days ago, and Raekwon literally compared this young man to Daron Payne. And Deron Payne is right now in the National Football League with the Washington Redskins. Payne was a first-round pick. I think it was chosen number 13 overall by Washington. So he's kind of messing around with DJ Dale. He said, "Man, you remind me of Deron Payne." And of course, DJ Dale responded with, "I'm going to be better than Deron Payne." So already we got a very confident DJ Dale who's playing lights out. Along with him, you have Antonio Alfano and Justin Ebiashby, the three defensive linemen, early enrollees on campus. Keep in mind, Alabama is still getting two more guys on the site in the summer, that being Byron Young and Ishmael Sobser. So while the other two are still waiting to come in, DJ Dale is having a very good spring. And I think he, along with Antonio Alfano, will be two guys as freshmen that will either start or will get some really, really huge, significant playing time. In terms of Trayvon Diggs, the program very happy to have him back after the foot injury this past year against Arkansas. He only played in 6 games. He's having a good spring. Now, he will be flexed out as the second outside corner opposite Patrick Surtain II. But with Shaheem Carter going through that sports hernia surgery he had earlier to start spring ball, hasn't been able to do much. He has been practicing, but not quite at 100%. So with that being said, Saban has had 4 to 5 guys rotate at that star position in nickel with Trayvon Diggs, Patrick Surtain, Josh Jobe, Jalen Armour-Davis. I've even seen the likes of Jared Maiden getting some work in at star. Saban just trying to provide some depth if something were to happen to Shaheem Carter. Hopefully nothing happens because he is your best guy in that nickel role. But should something happen, you've got some depth created there. But Trayvon Diggs, DJ Dale, two guys really having a great spring.
So, Stephen, most importantly, my biggest question of the day is involving, do you expect a really good spread there for the media at the spring game?
Food, okay. So now we're talking, Mark. Food. Right now, my expectations are, I'm keeping my expectations, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm keeping my expectations at a 6. And the reason why I say that is, while I am hopeful that we're going to get a nice spread, a nice assortment of meats, maybe some macaroni and cheese, maybe some mashed potatoes, a nice assortment of cookies going around. While I hope for the best, I'm also a realist in this is the A-Day game, this is Nick Saban, and sometimes the spring game, Nick does not tend to go all out, or the front office does not tend to go all out. So while I am hopeful, I'm also a realist. My expectations are 6.
I'd like to let people know that, and again, this is not part of my life now, but for 6 years in covering the SEC, going to the Alabama games on a regular basis, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and others, that this is the topic of conversation in the car. If you're in the news vehicle or whatever mode of transportation, you're going to the game, and you know that you get there an hour to 2 hours early, typically. So you take in the pregame meal, and then you go there, of course, for halftime to take in the spread. And you're wondering, and you're talking to everybody and trying to guess, okay, they're going to have pizza, they're going to have subs, maybe some chicken and some sides. You know, what is going to be the selection today? And that's typically what dominates the conversation, the anticipation for the food. The media loves food, no question.
No question, no doubt about it. If you are covering a team, if you are covering a coach that is highly demanding, the one thing that takes some of that stress off of you is if you see some very appealing food being placed in front of you.
Yes, there were many good spreads at the likes of Ole Miss and Mississippi State when Ole Miss was on probation, and Mississippi State might have had a down year or two there in the mid-'90s when I was there. That the anticipation was for the food was much greater than the anticipation of seeing a scintillating Mississippi State Kentucky football game, for example. All right, Stephen, we appreciate you stopping by. I'm sure you've got some great content there at touchdownalabama.net, and we encourage everyone to stop by and check out Stephen's work there. We're going to have Stephen back on Sunday afternoon, and we'll wrap up his thoughts on Tide and the 8A game in particular, but also just the entire gamut of what he took in during the spring session in Tuscaloosa. Stephen, we appreciate you taking the time out and blessing us with your presence, albeit on the phone, and your insight and information as always.
No problem, Mark. I appreciate you guys.
Thank you for watching this video. If you're an SEC football fan, please subscribe to the channel. Leave us your thoughts down in the comments below. And for the latest in SEC football, keep it right here.